Hello YouTube, my name is Josh and I want to welcome you to our channel. So Flickstiq is all about game streaming and cloud gaming, and today we're joined by Benjy Boxer. He's the CEO of Parsec and he's here to talk about his product. So we're going to find out the answers to questions like where are they at with iOS development? Are they thinking about developing for game consoles? And what's the future look like? And you're going to find the answers to those questions and even more coming up next. All right, thank you for joining us today, Benjy. Just to get things started, can you tell us a little bit about what Parsec is?
Well, first I want to say thanks to you, Josh, for having me on the channel. Big fan of yours and everything that you're doing in the cloud gaming space and gaming as well. So thanks a lot. Parsec, we really believe that the future is one where your relationship with hardware will be defined by access rather than ownership. So what that means is that you'll always have access to your games, your content, whatever, and there needs to be a technology to make that possible. So we sought out to make Parsec that technology, and by really focusing on the streaming aspect of of game streaming of gaming, and so we built from the ground up what we believe is the lowest latency possible version of streaming video so that you can interact with and play your games whether you're at home or on the go. So you have with Parsec you have access to cloud machines if that's what you want, but you also have access to your own personal PC. So Parsec can turn any PC that has a GPU into a host. And then on top of that, we also added in all these social features to let you invite your friends in to play games with you. So the freedom to play your games how you want, where you want, and when you want with whomever is kind of what we're trying to make possible with our peer-to-peer streaming technology.
Oh, absolutely. And you put that really well. Now, moving forward, you guys have announced a lot of partnerships lately. So there was the partnership with HP a few months ago with their Omen PC series, and most recently there was the partnership with Simplay and their cloud gaming service. Can you tell us a little bit about what went into setting up those partnerships and just what happened behind the scenes? What was that like?
Definitely. Well, first of all, a lot of luck, especially with HP reaching out. They reached out to us. They were reading our blog. We have a blog where we at times talk about our technology, at other times just talk about gaming in general. And they essentially tried Parsec and were blown away with how performant and this we made. The what's great about that relationship is it's a validation that one of the biggest companies in the world sees the game streaming number one as the future, and number two that Parsec is going to play a role in that future. So we were super excited about it. At the time that HP reached out to us, I mean, this was about a year ago at this point. It was just my co-founder and I trying to work on Parsec. It was a terminal application. So if you're not familiar with that, it's basically like you're typing commands into the computer and it does things. And that's what Parsec was. And I give a lot of credit to the HP team looking at that and saying, we see a future where this powers everything in our games, in our own gaming computers for accessibility and things like that. And I would also commend them for making the decision that, as a hardware company, and where ownership matters a lot to them because you buy their computers, they are thinking about the future where their computer becomes like a media center that's accessible from anywhere. So that expands the value of the Omen PC, so that you can use the Omen PC on your Chromebook or on your Surface or on your Android phone or whatever using Parsec. So that's awesome. The other thing, the Simplay thing is new, the Simplay partnership, and we love it. It's a cloud gaming company saying, listen, this company is the best at streaming. We're going to work with this company on the game streaming aspect. You can continue to use our hardware and our being Simplay our machines that we've done a really good job managing and making available at an incredibly low price per month. It's just amazing that they can offer them at $20 a month.
Hmm.
And to get the best experience, however, you should use Parsec. So stay tuned for future announcements around that partnership and others in the cloud gaming space where people are starting to realize that let's just let Parsec handle the streaming aspect.
You actually take me right into my second question. So, if another cloud gaming company wanted to get involved with Parsec and maybe even be included in the Parsec app, what kind of process would they need to go through to do that?
Yeah, to be included in the app, it's very simple. We have documentation available on our GitHub repo, so you can actually check it out today if you want. All you have to do is make a couple APIs available for us to initiate machines and make them available to our users, and then they're in the app. I mean, it's that simple. It's probably if those APIs are available to us, it's probably about a day's worth of work. So we've built this marketplace and the documentation and the way that we work in a way that is very applicable to more because we believe that cloud gaming, the hardware should be a marketplace where you can access your choice, just like you can go to a store or you can build your own PC. You choose the GPU, you choose the CPU, you do all that stuff. We think of it the same way. You're building your cloud gaming PC. So why don't you have the choice of the combination of GPU and CPU, payment terms, as well as location. So Parsec is not getting into the game of having our own hardware or any of that stuff. We are a streaming application, and that's all we are. So we want to make, and there's a lot of companies out there that are really good at making hardware available at low prices. So we're excited to work with them.
Yeah, you make a really important point. So we actually get asked a lot on the channel about, if you already have a cloud gaming service of some kind, why do you need another app on top of that like Parsec? And we talk about how Parsec is a game streaming app and that it can be used at home or used in the cloud and how it can elevate the game streaming experience with this technology. So that's cool. I agree. Now, about you personally, what kind of game genre are you into? So, what's your favorite type of game? And are you more of a mouse and keyboard gamer, or do you like to play with a controller?
I'm a big Civ fan. Like play a lot of Civ 6. Currently in a long game based on the new expansion pack, and as Japan, and I like it because I'm pretty busy, so it gives me the ability to kind of multitask while playing the games, and that's obviously a mouse and keyboard type of game. Um, Growing up, honestly, I was a console gamer. I played a lot of Halo, a lot of GoldenEye, a lot of you know console first-person shooters, obviously not as intense as CS:GO and others. But my co-founder Chris, who is the lead technologist, he was not a pro CS:GO player, but very good CS:GO player for a pretty long time. That's what we use for testing as our test game, as well as he loves World of Warcraft. His sister gamer, and she is on the team as well, developing. So that's kind of the core of the team and where our gaming experience and what we're building for really is test the games that you love. So that's been kind of what we've been testing on.
Yeah, I actually picked up my own copy of Civilization 6 pretty recently, so yes, I know exactly what you mean. Now, switching gears a little bit, let's talk about equipment, and specifically, let's talk about networking equipment. So, can you guys give us an example of some of the routers that you guys test with when you are developing Parsec? Just to give the community an idea of some things that might work if they need to pick up a good router to use at home.
Yeah, I think we have TP links under our desk. We also test with a D link as well, which are all just consumer routers. I have BIOS, so I use the built-in file, standard router that they give you. Um, I believe we do some testing with the N7000, I believe, is what Jamie has at home. So those are sort of the router. That's more of an enterprise router, I would say.
It looked like his video might have been a little bit choppy there at the end of that last question. So, in case you didn't hear, he was talking about using his FiOS router at home. He mentioned an N7000 router that's kind of an enterprise grade model. And then he also talked about using some TP-Link routers as well. So, that's exactly what we asked. Some examples of routers that you could try at home that are ones that are tested by Parsec already. Now, the next question has to do with your GPU. So if you're going to be hosting your own server with Parsec, streaming from your gaming computer at home to something else, you're either going to be using AMD or NVIDIA. Now, out of those two choices, does one of those kind of have an edge with Parsec? So does one perform a little bit better than the other one?
Well, I really hate saying it, but the leader does have an edge. Um, NVIDIA and with Parsec as well. NVIDIA does a really good job at encoding video. AMD is great as well. Chris actually has an AMD card in his computer, so all of our development's actually on an AMD card. So I would say NVIDIA is probably a little bit better quality, but I don't know if there's that big of a difference. It pains me a little bit to say it.
Oh, right. But it is interesting to know, that if you have a choice between AMD and NVIDIA and your budget's not, the deciding factor here, that maybe there is a little bit of an edge with NVIDIA.
Yeah, I mean, I think, generally our goal is that any computer should be able to host. Um, and obviously we've started with Windows, we will go into other platforms eventually, but we want every computer to be able to host. We're talking right now via my Surface, and my Surface actually can host because it's a
Oh,
newer Intel HD graphics Surface. And you can host on an HD graphics card, but that's not for gaming. So the GPU on these things isn't the best, but I definitely log into my Surface once in a while just for the heck of it.
it's funny that you mentioned that because that was actually one of the very first things that I did, a while ago when I first started trying Parsec. Tried to fire up my Surface Pro as a host, mainly to play some RetroArch on my TV, and that was just what was handy. And it didn't work back then, but that was a while ago. So that's cool to hear that it might work with the newer Surface Pro now. That's a pretty cool feature.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on a Surface Pro too. I have the old Surface Pro as well. It will not work on that. It's too old. But when you have HD graphics above about 4600, they come with a really good quick sync coding. So it
So that would
works.
be about the Surface Pro 3 and above, maybe?
I think I'm on a two.
A
I'm
2?
not sure. Not sure.
Sounds like an opportunity to experiment to me. So we'll have to play with that. Now, moving to a slightly different question, is there a chance that we might ever see Parsec available on game console? So something like maybe streaming from the cloud to an Xbox.
Where you can fire your Xbox and play from the cloud. So the Xbox would be the client in that situation.
Exactly right. Not hosting, but as a client. That's a good, yeah. Distinction's important.
Yeah, we will if it's possible to put a native application on the hardware, we'll do it. As obviously in that situation you need Microsoft's permission to do it because it has to be in the store.
Right.
But and I think that's an important thing to note for us. We feel very strongly that everything should be native code. All of our technology is written in C, and that gives us the most control over memory management and over how video is moving around the hardware that you're using. And that's one of the many ways that we reduce our latency as much as possible because we actually do really low-level programming to make that happen. And you're going to see very soon that we're going to release uh, a new rendering engine as well that we're building on our own, just to eke out just a couple extra milliseconds.
That would be a big deal. And your dedication to development is always appreciated and very much noticed. Your product reflects it. Now, let's talk about platforms. We talked about game consoles. How about another platform, iOS, for example? So for whatever reason, it seems like game streaming companies kind of give iOS a wide berth. There's not a whole lot available for it. Where are you guys at in terms of your development for iOS?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact numbers anymore. I know at one point iOS had like 90% of the profits in mobile phones because iOS attracts a much a consumer that is more willing to spend money. So obviously, we would love to have our app on iOS to make because it's a valuable consumer base. There's a lot of people on iOS, and mostly I would love to have it on Apple TV.
Oh
Really,
yeah.
similar problem really is that Apple doesn't want you to have a mouse. They just don't aren't interested in letting you render a mouse at all, and that makes it somewhat difficult to say, okay, this is an experience we can release. We have built an iOS version of Parsec. Uh, it just doesn't have a mouse, so it's and there's no peripherals that really work with the Apple devices as well. So they make it pretty difficult to be a competitive platform for game streaming. And the other issue is that, and this is the same with anyone that controls an app store on their platform. They're not going to want a product like Parsec on their platform. You know, Nintendo Switch is not going to want a platform like Parsec. They're not. Neither is Microsoft Xbox. I would assume, although they own the Windows side of it, so they might be okay with it. But these companies don't want that because it becomes a way around their store to buy their games. So if I have Parsec on one device, I can then use my version of the game that is on my computer rather than buying the version of the game that is on the the hardware that the console, for instance, right?
Right.
So uh, and that's a huge business for them, right? They sell these things at a loss because they want to make 30% on every game that's sold on their platform, which is what they do. 30% of every dollar you spend on about 30% on a game on iOS, on Xbox, on PlayStation, on Nintendo, all goes to those platforms. So if they are very diligent about their platform, they probably will be less likely to allow an app like Parsec.
So what you're basically saying is stream your copy of Skyrim rather than buy it for the 15th time.
Nintendo would not like that. I can promise you that. They don't care that it makes you happier. They want you to spend, whatever Skyrim is on the Switch. Um, they want you to buy it there so they get their 30%.
And that makes sense. We understand. But with that said, who knows what the future holds, and hopefully we'll still have somebody throw us a bone and let us stream at some point on something, and it's food for thought for sure. Now, before we finish up, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the community?
Not really. I mean, I just hope that you guys will take the time to try Parsec. We love feedback. We have a pretty active Discord server, which I think Josh you're in, and you spent some time in. And we're just there hanging out. Want to hear your feedback. We love feedback. And also, if you find it bugs or problems, we also want to hear about that. We try and do our own QA, but obviously there's always some problems in an app that's as complicated to build as Parsec. And it's a small team. We're all just trying to make the best game streaming application that there is out there, and we spend a lot of time doing it. So we would love to hear from you, and please follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, and join our Discord server.
And for those of you that haven't tried Parsec yet, you can head on over to parsecgaming.com. It's completely free to download it. You can stream it from your home gaming computer or from the cloud like we talked about, and it is completely free, so you can jump on there and grab it today. And Benjy, I just want to thank you again for joining us, and I hope that we get to do this again soon.
Great. Thanks a lot for having me, Josh. It's great to be here, and thanks for letting me chat with your audience.
Thank you.